Recruiting is heating up. Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State, North Carolina, and several more programs pick up verbal commitments.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Right now, you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're going to be talking commitments. Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, Notre Dame, Minnesota, programs across the country did a really good job this past weekend. A lot of different spring games and events. I know some of them were showcases. So let's just start breaking it down. And I want to start off with something that I've talked about on this show for quite a while, and that's Alabama becoming more active locally. They really focused heavily outside of the state last year, and I was one of them to criticize because you need your linemen here in the local area. There's just so many from North Carolina to Texas. It's just a straight line across. Get your linemen down south because you're in the South. Well, they have definitely made a shift, and the Alabama staff is kicking butt right now in terms of who they've got coming in for visits unofficially and officially. And the guy that I want to start with is their commitment. Camarion Johnson out of Muscle Shoals. It's in northern Alabama. This is one of those hybrid defensive ends who could end up staying on the strong side, or maybe he eventually plays on the interior. He's around 260 pounds, give or take. His film shows a guy with some natural pop, and he's got the ability to change direction pretty well. A lot of different SEC schools would have loved to have had him. Alabama keeps him home. He's a kid that grew up a Bama fan. I like what Kalen DeBoer and his staff are starting to do. This is the beginning of the trend. They don't have a lot of commitments, but there's been a lot of teeth grinding over Alabama's quote-unquote slow start on the recruiting trail. But I remind you, Nick Saban usually started slow too, because the big fish, as a rule, will make their decisions later on in the recruiting process. There are exceptions, but by and large, you have to win with your official visits. They had a really big A-Day list from Georgia, from Alabama, and from kids in the South overall. That's how you win at Alabama. Keep it simple, stupid. That old saying, it probably applies to Bama recruiting as much, if not more, than any other college football program. Lineman down south, though. This is a big pickup. If he didn't go to Bama, there was a pretty good chance he was going to go to arch rival Auburn. So big pickup for Kalen DeBoer and his squad. Georgia, speaking of power programs in the South, they get a kid that I don't know why, that he hasn't gotten more respect out of some of the national rankings, but it is what it is. Sprayberry High School, just on the edge of Atlanta and Marietta. He's a corner / safety / just good football player, very long, 6'1", 185 pounds, somewhere in that range. This is a kid that could have went to a lot of other programs. Could have went to Tech, Georgia's rival. Could have went to Florida, another very big rival. But he stays home with UGA. Finding versatile DBs. Kirby Smart should know about that because he was a versatile DB when he was actually a player for the Bulldogs. Can you play nickel? Can you play free safety? Can you be used in the different packages when teams come out in 4 wide and then on the next play they're in 12 personnel and they got 2 tight ends? How can you move around and help your defense? This is a player that can do that. Big pickup for the Georgia Bulldogs. I like him a lot. I know he's ranked 3-star by some services. I think he's a very good player. And Kirby, again, he kind of knows defense and especially the secondary. I will take his opinion over just about anybody's when it comes to a defensive back prospect. Next, this is a little bit unusual. I didn't realize this until I ran across it this morning, but there's not just a good player going to Notre Dame from Michigan. It's their 3rd player from the state of Michigan, all offensive linemen. What is going on? Because Michigan State, power football, Michigan is just over a year removed from a national title. I was a little surprised by that. And maybe somebody ends up flipping, but right now Notre Dame has not 1, not 2, but 3 commitments from the state of Michigan along the offensive line. The latest from Northern High School in Portage, Michigan, Gregory Patrick. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to play for the Fighting Irish. I watched his film. I like him better as a run blocker than I do as a pass protector, but that's almost always the case. It's an extreme exception when that's not. For linemen, backing up at 300 pounds, give or take, is not natural. It takes a long time, and it's a lifelong learning skill. But Gregory Patrick was a kid that ranked in the top 200 by a lot of recruiting services. He is very strong, and playing downhill is kind of what suits him. I see him as a guard. I mean, maybe he could play center, but probably guard is my first guess. This is an old school football player that would have fit in with Lou Holtz or Bo Schembechler back in the 80s and 90s. He's also a guy that has a frame that can get bigger. I see why he's ranked where he is, but he's a guy that's going to need a year or two, in my opinion, to truly compete for playing time at a program like Notre Dame, where they're loaded on the offensive line. Let's not kid ourselves. They are absolutely loaded. That being the case, you got to keep restocking the cupboard. And Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish do it again. Big pickup for them. As for Penn State, as I mentioned, they got not just a commitment, but I want to talk about a few guys at this position. They got a quarterback. This is their second quarterback, and I'm not going to dive into that, but I just want to mention it. This is the second quarterback for the Nittany Lions that James Franklin has for the class of 26. Is that going to be a scenario where Penn State sticks with that? Is somebody, I don't know. Maybe somebody on the roster they expect to lead. I have no idea what the deal is, but we'll get into that later. I'm sure I'll have Zach Sako on the podcast pretty soon. The player in question here is Peyton Falzone from Nazareth, PA. Iowa had been really after him, and several other programs, Big Ten, ACC. This is a very mobile quarterback, a little raw, but he makes plays from a physically gifted standpoint that you can't teach. There are a few plays on his film where at the high school level, you can get away with this at least. He's falling away, makes a throw. Now, again, college level, probably not your best decision. But Peyton Falzone is a guy that has the arm strength and the size. He's 6'3", 6'4", 200 plus pounds. It's going to be an easy fill out for him. He's going to weigh 220, 225, in my opinion. But as an athlete, he probably could be an H-back or an outside linebacker. He's a very good football player just in general. The ability to run, though, that is where he separates himself from a lot of other guys his size. Falzone isn't going to just sit in the pocket. He'll be good on rollouts, bootlegs, waggles, and the play that everybody talks about, creativity. If the pocket breaks down, Peyton Falzone can go get you 5 yards and pick up an easy first down. But don't discount him. Like, he can really run. This is a guy who might get you 25 as well. Underrated, in my opinion. And Nazareth, Pennsylvania is not exactly a football mecca. I don't think that's a program that's had a lot of players lately. I've heard of it before, but it's not the top of the board. He's probably a little underrated based on where he's at. Penn State gets a really unique quarterback, and Iowa, among other programs, misses out. So he's staying home. We'll see what Penn State does with him, but I like this kid a lot. And again, I really don't care about the recruiting ranking with him. North Carolina. Bill Belichick is doing some work. I've talked about this a few times here on the Portal Podcast recently. What is going on at UNC? Like, they're just nationally recruiting all over the place. Hats off. They do it a couple of times here. Number one, they get a kicker. And they also got a running back that I like. But this is a kid, and this is really rare. There aren't many high schools that I haven't heard of, like in South Carolina and North Carolina, because it's usually the same programs over and over. But Jalen McGill, powerhouse running back, 215, he's 5'8", maybe 5'9". He's a shorter build, but Mountain View Prep, never heard of it. It's in Spartanburg, but they got themselves one heck of a running back. As soon as I put on the film, I'm like, who is this guy? I hadn't seen him. I didn't know anything about him, but he ran over guys. He made guys miss. And despite being a diminutive guy and like just really built for power, I was impressed. McGill can run away from some guys, and he has the power to not just hit somebody, like leave a statement. They list him at 5'9", 215 on 24/7. He's ranked as a 3-star, a high 3-star. I don't know where I would place him in all the rankings, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. What I do know is he's got vision, he's got power, he's got speed, and he's already got a college frame. Bill Belichick doing some work down in South Carolina. The kicker is David Green. I don't really cover kickers, but I just want to mention him. He is committed to the North Carolina Tar Heels out of Christian Academy in High Point, North Carolina, and the name is David green. Now, when we come back, I want to talk about a commitment that Ole Miss got, and this is the typical kind of deal where I don't understand why more players from the state of Mississippi don't get respect. But we're going to talk about Ole Miss getting a commitment that I think is going to be a player that has an impact at Ole Miss a little quicker than most think. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. When you use Monarch Money, you will realize how often you spend money on things that you probably don't need to. Whether it's an Uber ride, whether it's spending money on food delivery, or just going out and spending money needlessly on clothes or something else, you're going to be able to see that with Monarch Money. And you can also double up by whoever is your partner. You can put both your accounts under Monarch Money so you can easily track what's going on with your personal accounts, set goals, and save money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Cornerbacks are always in vogue. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss just got one that, for whatever reason, wasn't getting the respect that he deserved. Now, I'm just going to say right off the bat before I dive into the player, the state of Mississippi is maybe the most annoying state to recruit. Why? I love being around the people in Mississippi, but as recruiting goes, that state is full of players, like one or two guys at each high school, and it is a massive state. It's just too spread out. So a lot of the kids get overlooked or they're not ranked properly, even if they have several P4 offers, SEC, Big Ten, etc. That's what's going on here. Now, I don't know if his ranking will rise, but I think it should. Braylon Williams is out of Tupelo. Shout out to the king, Elvis Presley. He was once in Tupelo. But this is a kid that's played quarterback for his high school team, and he's played a lot of DB. Whether he's in zone or man, I don't care what it is. Braylon Williams can play, but he's ranked a 3-star, doesn't get much acclaim. There wasn't much made about it. He's ranked like the number 30 player, I think on rivals.com in the state of Mississippi, whatever. But not many people have seen him. I'm telling you, he can play. Whether it's driving on the football or whether a guy that can be a nickel, you can look at him as a safety, however you want to look at it from a technical standpoint or being versatile. I talk about that a lot. I really like Braylon Williams. You need more players in your secondary like that. And I brought that early with Keelan Jones because Georgia just got a player like that. Can't have enough of them. And this is my pet peeve. It drives me crazy when I see DBs dropping easy interceptions. Braylon Williams got some hands. When he catches it, he becomes a player that can make something happen with the football, and he'll take it the other direction in a heartbeat. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin get a really good corner that's underrated, and I wouldn't be all that surprised if he played in year 1 or year 2 for the Rebels, and they have really built up their roster. So they need DBs in this class too. So good pickup for the Ole Miss Rebels with Braylon Williams. Now let's just talk some quarterbacks and go down the list. Shout out to my guy Ryan Herrings at Locked On Badgers. I always pick on him about Wisconsin's passing game, but they just got a really good player. Ryan Hopkins is from Modern Day High School. It's a program that is nationally known. It's one of the best high school football programs in the history of this country. And this is a kid that can run. He has sub-11 speed in the 100 meters, and he can throw from different angles. He can throw on the run. Wisconsin doesn't get kids like this very often at quarterback. Adding on to signing Carter Smith last year, it's really unique. Not 1 year, but 2 years with mobile quarterbacks, with true playmaking ability. Things are looking up a little bit in Madison, Wisconsin. When you get players like this, you can change how you attack a defense, and you can change how wide receiver recruits and tight end recruits view your program. Wisconsin's probably going to have a so-so year this year, but they are trending in the right direction. If they're going to get to a place where they can start contending at the upper echelon of the Big Ten again, this is the kind of player you need. By the way, it doesn't hurt getting a quarterback from Modern Day. Maybe Wisconsin can get somebody else to come to Madison from that program, and or get somebody that originally went somewhere else, or maybe transfer over because he knows them. Mater Dei is an absolute football factory. Sticking with the quarterback position, DJ Bordeaux. Don't know much about him yet. Just saw that he is going to Boston College. Unique situation. You got O'Brien up there. It's going to be more of a pocket passer kind of offense. We'll see what happens with him, but this kid's out of Colorado. For BC to go to Colorado to get a quarterback, that tells me that they really like him. I mean, that's not a state that gets a lot of recruiting attention because it's just not that good for high school football. But BC thought so. O'Brien knows quarterbacks. That's one thing that I can say for sure. He coached Tom Brady. I'd say that's a pretty good sign. And he's also a guy that understands the type of player he wants. So this is somebody that probably has quite a bit of structure. Good deal for BC. It's always nice to see somebody else kind of rise up and change the dynamics of college football a little bit. Now just running down the list of some other players. Not one, but two commitments for West Virginia and Rich Rod at the safety position. Cameron Dwyer out of Palm Beach Central in South Florida. He's a bigger safety prospect. He's over 6'2". And then they also get Taj Powell out of Springfield, Ohio, 6'3", 205. So maybe they're going to run some kind of hybrid with these guys. I don't know. But not one, but two guys that are bigger safeties. They're going to be headed to Morgantown. That's interesting. Jamarian Richardson, just the opposite here, a cornerback from Texarkana, Pleasant Grove, a really good program in the state of Texas. He has committed to Baylor. He's only like 5'10", 150, 160 pounds, but he can really run. Moving on down the list, kind of looking at what's left here. Kai Meza, wide receiver from Corner Canyon, one of the best programs in the state of Utah, commits to Minnesota. Rowing the boat from Utah to Minnesota. That's interesting. He had a few other P4 offers, but all the way from Corner Canyon to Minnesota, Kai Meza is going to be a Golden Gopher. We've got Will Love, a kicker, committed from Spartanburg, South Carolina, going to Virginia Tech. He's going to go up a couple of states. And then a player that I thought was underrated, and I talked about him not that far back, maybe a month or so ago here on the podcast, Hayden Moore out of Newberry, Florida. It's not that far from Gainesville, where the University of Florida is at. He's also going up to row the boat in Minnesota. Interesting day for the Gophers. They're picking up some players. When we come back, I want to give a little bit of a preview of what you're about to see in recruiting, because we're about to see a recruiting blitz. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll get exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We're about to see the recruiting blitz, and here's why. Commitments will be rolling in because, A, we've had a bunch of spring games with the visits. Like I started off, Camarion Johnson from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, commits to Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Lifelong Bama fan, but to seal the deal, you go and you check out Tuscaloosa. You go through and see, do I fit here? How comfortable am I before I make my commitment? I'm sure he probably knew he was going there, but a lot of players do it this way. So this past weekend and this next weekend, we're going to have spring games all over the place. Florida State and some other schools will have theirs, whatever it is for their last practice or the last time that they scrimmage in any capacity, whether it's televised or not. The recruits are there. You're going to see kids commit that you thought would. You're going to see kids commit that you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. And here's the other part. This is where it's really intriguing. You're going to have players that were scheduled to go to a certain school. Maybe it's Tennessee, maybe it's Clemson, maybe it's Texas Tech, but they show up at another campus. The one thing that I have learned over the years is spring games and any spring practice in general it's very loose in terms of, okay, here's the list for who's coming. A lot of guys change their plans last minute due to family concerns, due to distance, due to something else going on, or they just change their mind. We are dealing with teenagers after all. So do not be surprised, no matter what school you root for, if there is a change, and it could be really good news or not so good. That's the nature of college football recruiting in 2025, and this is not going to be any different. So today, it's the 14th of April. It's Monday morning when I'm doing this podcast. By the time we get to the 21st, you're going to see a bunch of commits. Some you'll expect. They'll be right down the middle. I'll profile them. I'll discuss them. That's fine. But we will also see something else that is very, very important. The kids that go to campuses and that changes their list to either go ahead and commit or B, set the official visits in their tune of what's going on. Hey, I really like this school, but now it's my number one. Or I really like this school and now, maybe not. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. First visit there, it's not for me. You're going to see a lot of different paths split at the fort. And that's just the nature of recruiting. The unofficial visits right now will dictate who ends up signing the best classes in December. This is the beginning point, and it will be a recruiting blitz. I guarantee it, because it happens every single year. It's really hard to predict, too. You just got to follow the visits and listen to what the kids say afterwards and kind of get the backstory from some of the coaches at these schools. The process never changes. It's not going to change for me, and it won't change for you as you come in here each day on the Portal Podcast. And whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Odyssey, whatever, or you're on any other app, it's still the same deal. Recruiting is about the visit. So let's see where the kids go. And we've got another weekend of a bunch of kids going across the country to check out different campuses. You're going to see the commitments. So make sure you check it all out right here on the Portal Podcast. And thank you again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to get all the latest news on roster management and every kind. And that's recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal. Please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on Apple and anywhere else you listen. Appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.